everybody. My name is Jesse. I am your virtual adventure guide here with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, and welcome to our first big week of programs. So nice to have you guys all here so early in the school year, and I'm so excited to dive in as we continue our mission to bring and celebrate amazing scientists, explorers, conservationists around the globe into classrooms for free. Today we've got some of our best teachers of all time, so welcome back if you're joining us anew. And if you're new to our program, it's so nice to have you here. We are excited to get underway with what should be a full year of over 500 programs between now and mid-June. Now this week we've already dove in with the James Webb Space Telescope, with marine plastics, but today's program is particularly special because this is a new speaker joining us for the first time and someone that I was particularly keen over the summer to wrangle in. She is awesome. So Gunjan Menon is an Indian filmmaker, and she gets to work in the coolest job on the planet. She gets to go to some of the most amazing places and feature and showcase stories of wild creatures that are under threat and some of the ways that we're working to save and protect those creatures. So today, she's going to share some of her jungle stories of her adventures, filming things for such amazing groups as Animal Planet, Discovery, BBC Earth, and more. She has won all the awards you can win, been shortlisted for everything. She is just one of the rising stars in the field of wildlife filmmaking, and I'm so thrilled to bring her to you today. So without further ado, joining us in Vancouver, BC, Gunjan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So if you want to bring up your presentation and dive in, I'll just note as you're doing that, we've got classes today from Alabama, Manitoba, California, Ontario, Maine, all over the continent. So it's so exciting that we could get such a big audience for you for today's broadcast.
Awesome. Thank you, and welcome everyone. I'm really excited to be talking to you this morning, and me and my little red panda here are looking forward to speak to you. So let me just pull up my presentation. There we go. So my name is Gunjan Menon. I grew up in India and I'm currently based in Vancouver. And I am a wildlife filmmaker. I make conservation stories, and I'm also a National Geographic explorer. And I have a company called Beyond Premieres, and we focus on really cool, impact-driven stories where we can actually make a difference with our films. But when I was a little girl, when I was about 3 years old, I was obsessed with a book that my grandfather gave me. And that was a book on the Amazon rainforests. And I was obsessed with rainforests, with jungles. And I used to look at birds of paradise every night before sleeping. And you could say that those were the fairy tales I grew up with. So I always dreamed of being in the wilderness, being in the wild. And I kind of ended up fulfilling that dream and getting this coolest job ever, where I get to work in forests, work with beautiful, gorgeous animals. Some of my work has been seen on Animal Planet, Discovery, BBC Earth, National Geographic Wild. And sometimes you get buffaloes for camera assistance, and it's all awesome. I can say it's a pretty cool dream job, like Jesse said, and it helps me also tell stories of people and communities who are doing their very best to protect our wild animals. But I started off by just having no idea about how to get into wildlife filmmaking. I didn't even know this job existed, of course, when I was growing up. So I used to volunteer around my house to like rescue and rehabilitate wild animals, any injured birds, squirrels. And the photo to your right, just a word of caution, you should never touch bats. Because I'm trained and vaccinated, this was okay. But we actually raised, rehabilitated, rescued quite a few bats that would get stranded, abandoned. This one was actually a baby. There was a fruit bat baby that got separated from its mother, and we kind of nursed it back to health and then released it in the wild. And the love for photography and filmmaking started when I used to run around with my father's camera and shoot whatever was in my backyard. So these were just ducks and geese in my backyard in New Delhi, in India. This probably would be equivalent of Canada Goose for all Canadians and Americans in the house. And yeah, sometimes when I was in class, I was in grade 7 or 8. For my economics project, we had to tell a story about a rural village near our house. And I ended up being the only student who took my dad's. Back then, we used to have these handy cameras, which were not like, we didn't have phones. We didn't. I sound so old, but we didn't have these really cool high tech camera phones. We had like really small phones that could only make calls. But so we had these big, like tiny handy cams, and I took that out and actually made a little film with it. And uh, in the end, like, because our assignment was due on paper, I couldn't do a lot with the film, but that was the first time I actually took a camera out, filmed all the animals, filmed the people's stories, and I had a blast. And I kind of knew that this is what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. And thankfully, so I kept working towards it, and then got a chance to actually film wild animals in all sorts of places. I've filmed in India, Nepal, United Kingdom, now Canada. So it's been an amazing journey so far. And we don't always look very glamorous doing it. Like, the weather is pretty bad in most of these Himalayan forests, so you kind of look like that while doing it. It sounds very glamorous and fun, but sometimes not the best fashion sense. And you have to keep waiting, and there's like a lot of weight involved. Like, you you might think that wildlife filmmaking is such a cool job, you film with animals all the time, but believe me, most of it is actually just waiting and waiting and waiting. And yeah, this is me just trying to be female Tarzan. There's harsh weather, there's a lot of weightlifting involved, and very little of actually being able to spend time with animals, filming animals, but it's all worth it in the end, because these are some of the beautiful, gorgeous species, just like 20% of the animals I have been fortunate to work on stories for. These are some beautiful stories I've worked across the years when I've been in this industry. And today you will meet some of my favorite stars from these stories. So this is called a purple frog. So it's a very cool frog. It looks nothing like a normal frog you would have probably seen, and it's incredibly hard to find. It's found in the western Ghats of India, and it only comes out for up to 3 to 7 days in the whole year. In the entire year, it will only come out of the ground to mate. So it basically stays for the entire year underground. What its secret life is under the ground, we have very little idea of. We know that because of its pig's like elongated nose, it eats termites, and it has like eyes built in a way that it can survive underground. And we also know like the the limbs are very, very muscular, and that's so that they could dig underground. So this was like a very cool species. I was like the assistant director on an Animal Planet show on, and I really enjoyed working with them. And what's even more challenging was that they only come out during monsoon, so they would all come out of the ground together to mate. They will like all roll together looking for mates, and it's like a full frenzy where all these purple blobs would be trying to look for mates, and it's pretty cool. This is something I'm currently working on. This is a rusty spotted kitten. So this one's just about I think 2 weeks old, and he was rescued from a sugarcane field. Now, what happens is rusty spotted cats basically are cats that are found, wild cats that are found only in India, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, and they are considered to be the world's tiniest wild cats. Like even adults weigh and are in size way lesser than our domestic cats. And this one's a kitten, and it was lighter than like even a tennis ball, and it was gorgeously cute. But unfortunately, it got separated from its mother because sugarcane was being harvested in a field near my house, and the mother felt safe when the sugarcane fields were um, not harvested. And as soon as the sugarcane was cut during the harvest season, they got very exposed. So the mother got scared and unfortunately abandoned the kitten. And then an organization that I was like shooting for, they rescued the kittens from there. They first tried reuniting with the mother. So in the case of a rescue, the first thing that NGOs always try doing, or like conservationists always try doing, is reuniting with the mother, because that's the best possible outcome, right? But unfortunately, in this case, the mother was too exposed, so she didn't come back to get the kittens. But in most cases, they actually come back and take the kittens, and those are like beautiful stories. But in this case, the kitten had to be brought to the rescue center and stabilized, had to be fed every 2 hours with kitten formula and like mixed with like a special diet, very special diet, and this had never been done before. So this was quite challenging for the team that did it. So I was just there recording the journey, and this is how it like looked, right, like in just a few months, once I was an adult. But even this adult is quite tiny. So these were some really cool, super rare, very shy cats that I got a chance to film with. And once again, they're called rusty spotted cats. And this is a little teaser of what they look like. I'll just skip to the part.
Cat. The rusty mother, even if she was around, she just did not come back. There was something about these cats, and I didn't want them to end up in a zoo.
Right. You're too close for this lens. I realized there's an incredible story unfolding right in my backyard, and an army of people working day and night to raise this kitten. I know you're really confused right now, but these lovely people will send you back to the wild, I promise. Yeah, and it's still tiny after being an adult. Like, see the adult size, still tiny. Oops. Spoiler. So, yeah, that was one really cool animal I got a chance to work with. Oops. And then this as well. Oops, no, not this one. This is the real deal, a red panda. So before Turning Red came out and red pandas were famous, um, I worked on them and nobody knew what red pandas were. My friends used to ask me, "Oh, I didn't know pandas came in red." And I guess what they were assuming were these giant black and white pandas just in color red. But no, red pandas are pretty cool, pretty amazing animals, and they were actually the original pandas named 50 years before the giant panda. And these live in the wild in the Himalayan belt of bamboo forests, and they spend a lot of time eating bamboo and then sleeping because bamboo doesn't give you a lot of energy. So it's quite challenging to film them because they're just coiled up. They wrap their bushy tail around them to just sleep. And it's quite a feat to catch them. So I made a film about the hunt to find a red panda. And that film was told by the eyes of a local forest guardian. Some of you have seen this film, but here's an excerpt from it as well. And this is just to show you how adorable and fluffy they actually are in the wild. And when I first saw them, I could not believe my eyes. I thought that these were some just live teddy bears juxtaposed on a tree, and it was so unbelievable to um, actually be able to see them in the wild. And as you can see, they can camouflage quite well. Right now you can still see the red russet fur, so you will think that, oh Gunjan, why is it hard to spot them? But in these forests there's a lot of moss that is exactly the same color, so whenever you look up it feels like you're looking at a red panda, but it's just moss. So these guys do a pretty good job to hide themselves. So here's a little bit of a sneak peek of what they actually look like in the wild for those of you who haven't seen the film.
त्यो युनिट पण्डा एकदम राम्रो छ कि हेर्दाखेरि हेरिरहँ परेको छ, एकदमै माया लाग्दो छ युनिट पण्डा। यो 1.5 वर्षको साइजको हो यो।
Menuka believes this is the cub from the nest. It's a huge relief for the team and will ensure the cub's safety from poachers.
मान्छेलाई रेड पण्डा मार्ने अधिकार छैन। सबैभन्दा उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ जनचेतनाको कमीको कारणले गर्दाखेरि मार्छन् र यसको महत्त्व नबुझेर मार्न सक्छन्। मलाई त आज यस्तो रेड पण्डा देख्दा यस्तो भावुक भयो कि ए भगवान्, यो चाहिँ धेरै समयसम्म बाँच्नुपर्छ।
Finding this cub is another success for the Firefox Guardians, giving Menuka hope that what she has fought to achieve is still helping to secure the future of her firefoxes. So yeah, as you could see, they sleep a lot, they yawn a lot. I wish I could lie in these beautiful forests and just eat and sleep all day. But no, they are under threat. The red pandas are actually endangered, and they face threats of habitat fragmentation, which means that their forests are not as continuous as they need them to be. They face threat of poaching. Some people think that pandas should be kept as pets, or some people want to use their fur, so they get poached from their natural habitat to be exported to different countries for this. So the organization that I often partner with, Red Panda Network, actually works to protect them from some of these threats. And you too can actually help with this. And not just this, in general, whoever's watching, I would love for you to be just wildlife guardians and be champions to speak for these animals that can't speak for themselves. And together we can do so much more. So one way to do something would be Red Panda Day is actually coming up, and you could. We are actually Red Panda Network celebrating 15 years of red panda conservation, and they're doing a fundraiser which I'm helping them with. So if you go on their fundraiser page, and you could also choose to collect, raise awareness about red pandas, raise funds, and actually just contribute to this cause. You'll see my little logo there. You can go either contribute to my page, that goes like 100% of it goes to Red Panda Network, or you could create your own fundraiser on this page. So that's one way to join. The One sec. So yeah, there's one more way to join is Red Panda Network's website actually has a page for kids. It's called Red Panda Network Kids, and you can become a Red Panda Ranger. It's a special title given to children who help spread awareness about red pandas. So you could actually go on and do a lot for red pandas. The other way is to have Seek. We can talk to the teachers about this a little more. This is just a fun app that scans everything that's around you and tells you what it is. It helps scientists gather information about what's in your backyard. So just if you're less on TV and more outdoors, you can just be so much closer to the natural world. And apps like this, iNaturalist, will actually help you do that. So you can become actually a citizen scientist, a child scientist, and help with collection of data around you. And this is another important thing I wanted to speak to you about. So as wildlife guardians that you all are now, we can speak up against cruel practices against animals. So in the first photo, you will see something that we don't see as a cruel practice, and we don't realize. So when we go on vacations, when we go on holidays, there are often these tours where you can ride elephants, ride different animals, and they take you on elephant safaris, which is actually a very cruel backstory where uh, the spirit of elephants is broken for them to be able to do this. So as this new wildlife champion of mine, you can say no to your parents and say, no, we don't want to ride an elephant, no, we don't want to touch any wild animal or get too close to it if that makes the wild animal uncomfortable. The second photo is tiger petting and photographing. So not just tigers, there are many organizations around the world, especially on especially in tourist areas and vacation spots, which make it seem like it's conservation. But any time that you can do something like this, hold a tiger cub or get close to a really wild animal when it's not in a rescue center, then it kind of most probably means that it has a dark, cruel backstory. And in the case of these tiger cubs, they when they get older, they are probably sold in the tiger illegal wildlife trade. Their bones are sold, or when they're old enough and they're not cute anymore, then they die. And for the older tigers, they're drugged, they are kept in a uh, state where they're medicated and they don't know what they're doing. So it's very cruel for them to be able to give you that opportunity of being so close to them. And it's okay, we've all sometimes done this when we were kids, so it's okay if you've already done this, but now you know better. So when you go on vacations, you know what to say no to. And like, just read up on where you're going. You're going to an organization, if they are not helping tigers or wild animals in the wild, then there's probably something wrong with them. If you can touch cubs like this, then there's probably something wrong with it, because wild animals deserve to be wild. And in the third photo is another big problem, which is keeping wild animals as pets. So does this monkey look natural, or would it look better in its natural environment? So we will not try and express love for wild animals by trying to own them. What, like, we can have dogs and cats as pets, birds as pets, but not wild animals. Birds also specific ones that are okay in your country and legal. Most of the times, these wild animals are illegally captured from their natural habitats and have to go through a lot of cruelty to get to your home. So it's in a way promoting a really unhealthy, dark, and system. It's promoting an industry that's really dark. So we don't want to be a part of that. We want to be champions, and we want to help animals stay wild. So, like in the fourth photo, what you could do to be close to animals is go on wildlife safaris, see them, observe them from a distance in the wild, in their natural habitat. Help urban wildlife around you, join, volunteer with rescue organizations, and whenever you see an animal in distress, whenever you see someone doing something shady, you report it to your parents, to your teachers. That's how you will be the next animal wildlife guardians. So, time for questions, and tell me, are there any future wildlife filmmakers and conservationists in this group?
I think there's going to be after that presentation. Well, thank you so much. If you want to come out of screen share so you can see us again, have a bit of a conversation, we'd love to chat more in a sec while you're doing that. I want to note too, like when I was 10 years old, I went to a place and they had a tiger and they had a lion and I stood beside them and there's pictures of me with my hand on that. And now I know better. And this is something that we hear from a lot of conservationists around the globe, is that one of the easiest things you can do, never mind waiting until you're on vacation, is don't share those pictures. Share pictures of people that are engaging with wildlife in a respectful way, or they're at an accredited zoo, or they're in the wild in a place where the animals are far away. Because, again, as Gunjan mentioned, there's a lot of shady things going on with industries associated with that. And so you can really do a big part by not sharing those pictures and making a positive difference in that way. So I appreciate that message immensely. And you talked about not being able to see red pandas, which I've got to say, sounds ridiculous, but I grew up by the Toronto Zoo and they have a red panda exhibit. And I never found the red panda. I don't know where it is. It's in the tree somewhere, but they're very difficult to spot. So I've lived this.
And imagine this just one enclosure. So imagine this in a wild where they could be anywhere on any random tree. So yeah.
Well, let's dive in with questions. We've got groups from all over, and I know everyone's chomping at the bit to ask you. So let's head to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Miss Foster's class first. And, ask, hey guys.
Hi. Hey.
Okay. We watched your film, The Firefox Guardian, and want to know how to become a wildlife filmmaker. What advice do you have?
How to become a wildlife filmmaker. So, like I said in my presentation, we can start with filming what's in our backyard. We can start by building a portfolio, or we can start by volunteering for organizations that are already close to us. For example, there are so many rescue organizations that work near my house. So I will, like, when I was growing up, I would just go to them and say, can I make a film for you? Can I help you fundraise? Can I help? I will go and raise funds for you. So those are just little few ways that initially, when you don't have the training, you can be involved with wildlife filmmaking in those ways.
And I love the pictures of you being a little girl, like getting involved with this and being excited about this. And I think most of our students, you guys have a phone, which means you have a better camera than people that are our age had ever when we were kids. Like, I mean, the best cameras in the world weren't as good as your iPhone is now. And so you can make really high quality films just with something that's in all of your pockets. And so I love that.
Exactly.
Nice. All right, let's head to Altona, Manitoba for our Miss Nicholson's crew, grade 7s. Come on in, guys. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
We have a few animal lover questions here. So they want to know a few things. A few animals come up that they want to know if you've seen: a hedgehog, a flying squirrel, a phoenix fox, or a cheetah.
Perfect. Cool question.
So, hedgehog, yes, I've seen a hedgehog in the UK. Fennec fox, no, unfortunately. I do love how adorable their ears are and those button eyes are. So yes, that is definitely on my list. Cheetahs, yes. And did you know that cheetahs can actually purr and they are super adorable and they don't growl like big cats, so they'll like actually purr like your domestic cat. It's adorable. And what was the fourth
Oh yeah,
one?
fourth
Flying,
one.
Flying squirrel.
flying
Flying squirrel.
Squirrel.
That is actually also on my bucket list. I have seen it once, but I haven't seen it gliding. So my dream shot would be to actually capture it doing its nice glide.
Is that what
glide.
they do?
Yeah.
It's very stylistic.
No, they just have these appendages that they can glide. They don't actually fly; they can glide. But yeah, it looks pretty cool to go from one treetop to the other.
Cool question, guys. I want to share really quick for those who might not know what a fennec fox looks like, that they are amazing and everybody should look them up when they're done this broadcast, but they are a fantastic creature. So do check that out, everybody. All right, let's head to Ms. Davidoff's class, Mount Prospect, Illinois. If you guys want to unmute your mic, come on in. You are good to go. Hey.
Hi.
What's up, people? A few people in our class were asked some questions.
Sure.
The first question is, how long have you had this job from Sophia?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Sophia. So I have been formally working as a wildlife filmmaker, full-time wildlife filmmaker, after I did my master's. So that's from 2018 when I got the degree. But I made the Firefox film in 2017 actually, so you can count 2017. But I have been informally just going around and making films which were not wildlife. Sometimes I would shoot weddings, sometimes I would shoot music concerts, and that's been going on since 2012.
Well, I will say, I know our students might not have the context for this, but to start in wildlife filmmaking so recently and to have had the success that you have is a testament to how amazing you are, because almost no one has that quick a career trajectory. So kudos to you. We're going to go to Mr. Johnson's class in just a second in Elmira, but I want to take two quick questions from YouTube. We've got a student in Anchorage, Alaska that is dying to know if you've ever done a shoot up in Alaska.
I would love to. Have never actually been to Alaska. I have a very good friend in Alaska, but I have not been down there. I would love to.
We'll have to send you and do a follow-up program with you when you've had the chance. And then Mr. Lee's class. So Mr. Lee's class wanted to know, what are the best places to find red pandas? Are there certain countries that they're in specifically? Certain regions? Where can we go look for them?
So in the wild, you can go up to India or Nepal, and they are very easily, not easily, easily is a relative term, but those are the places where you would ideally find them in the wild, and these will be Himalayan bamboo forests. So now Red Panda Network actually has eco trips. So you would actually go live with a forest guardian, you would live with the local community, and they would take you out on these Red Panda trips, which is like the most sustainable way to do it.
Fantastic. By the way, Himalayan bamboo forest sounds like the coolest thing of all time, just in terms of an ecosystem ever. But redpandanetwork.org, if you guys want to check that out and learn a little bit more, it's a fantastic resource and website. All right, Mr. Johnson's group, come on in, unmute your mic, and you're good to go. Hey, great horse.
Have you ever gotten lost?
Oh, I love that question. So, I feel like I don't have a like a body compass or a GPS in my head. I get lost all the time. It is so difficult, especially in cities. You could make me live in a place for 5 years and I would still not be able to easily find my way back home. I feel like there is something wrong with me. But when I'm in the jungles, somehow magically I've never been lost there. But whenever it's cities and maps and roads, I just cannot figure out what's north, what's south. I just lose it.
Is the magic in the jungle that you're with guides that know the jungle backwards and forwards? Maybe that's the trick.
I don't know. The magic is in the jungle.
That's very funny. Miss Merrifield's class, North Yarmouth and Maine. Welcome in, guys. Come on in, unmute your mic, and you're good to go. Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Come on up.
My name is Susie, and I was wondering how many times do you go on the trips, and how long does it usually take you to come back?
Great question.
Hi, Susie. Great question. So it actually depends on how long a film I'm making or how difficult the animal is to spot in the wild. So it can range from anywhere between 5 days to sometimes even 2 months. I know some filmmakers who've been searching for for snow leopards for 6 months, 9 months sometimes, and Siberian tigers for like even longer, 2 years. So it just depends on how rare the animal is, and how much of the animal you need to shoot. So
I love now that in a lot of documentaries, the Planet Earth, Blue Planet, Frozen Planet, they always have a 10-minute feature at the end that shows how difficult it was to get those shots. And you see wildlife filmmakers, covered in ice, sitting in a hide for like a month. So it can be a very challenging profession. And you highlighted that in your talk, but I love that question. Let's head quickly to you too, Mr. Steltman. I'm coming to you next, and Miss Penfold. But Mr. Glassford's class in Guelph wanted to know a very difficult question. What is your favorite animal? No pressure.
is this hard to guess? Like, would someone else like to answer on my behalf?
Okay. Red. So, but you certainly highlighted red pandas in this, but it didn't necessarily need to be the case. Maybe you were a fan of something else, but red pandas are pretty extraordinary. So it's a good pick. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm like her mother. I love all my children equally. I love all animals, but my favorite are red pandas.
We won't tell all the other creatures in the world. Mr. Feldman, come on in Burlington. It's so nice to have you guys back. And grade 5s, unmute your mic. You are good to go. Hey, guys. Welcome in.
Your mic.
Unmute your mic. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Ryder. I have a question. Do you ever get scared when you're like near like animals?
Yeah.
Great question. So you know what? For me, I sometimes think that humans are more scary than animals. I never actually get scared of animals, but when I was a child, when I was a kid, I was actually terrified of snakes. My father tells me that once he had to like pick me up, and I was not a baby. I was almost like in third grade, but he had to pick me up and carry me through the forest because I was scared like a snake would get on my feet. But surprisingly, like when I grew up and I was working on television shows, I shot and worked around the longest venomous snake in the world, king cobra, and I was not scared at all. So I think it's just like humans scare me a little more than animals. Animals are harmless, and more often than not, animals would be more scared of you than you are of them. So they don't like to cross our paths. They would prefer running away if any animal is scared, especially snakes. They're really cool.
Snakes are really cool. I love snakes. I have a snake bumper sticker in my car. And I love, by the way, a lot of filmmakers and conservationists around the globe, this is a very common answer, that people are the fear. Most animals, if you respect them, if you recognize, what dangers they may pose, you'll be very unlikely to ever be in a situation where you get hurt. People can be unpredictable. And so that's a big element to this. And I love that question, guys. All right, Miss Penfold in Orangeville, lovely Orangeville. Come on in and take us away. Hey, guys.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Our class wants to know, you maybe just sort of answered this. Have you ever been hurt while filming any of the animals?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a very sad answer to this. I have been hurt so much. I feel like I'm very clumsy. So probably my clumsiness doesn't match my profession. But as an occupational hazard, I have been hurt on my back. I have a bad knee. And so the purple frogs that you actually saw, because we were filming during monsoon, I slipped on a rock and hurt my spinal cord so bad that I was on bed rest for a month after that. And so it happens all the time. And yeah, we were filming during monsoon. Monsoon are like heavy torrential rains, and this was trekking through rainforest. So yeah, we slipped, and I was like with holding heavy equipment at the time, so the impact was more. So this happens all the time.
What? At the end of your talk, you said, "Who wants to be a wildlife filmmaker?" And you're making clear that even if you get lost all the time and are clumsy, you can be a wildlife filmmaker, which is great.
Exactly. And even during the red panda shoot, when we were actually when we actually were about to see the red panda, I had a a huge ankle injury, and one of the guardians had to like carry me up a mountain because I really wanted to.
No.
Yeah, I'm clumsy.
Okay, stay safe in the apartment for now, okay? We got 5 more minutes of the broadcast. No dropping anything on yourself. We're going to do another round of questions because, Gunjan, you're like an amazingly fast question answer, which is great. So Miss Foster's class, back to Alabama. Come on in, guys. Hey.
Hi, I'm loving the questions though. Like, amazing.
Ah.
Keep them-
Hi, my name's Ari, and I was wondering, are there any laws protecting the red pandas from poachers?
Yeah, so there are laws in place. These areas are protected areas. Even in India, they are protected by law. In Nepal, China, they're all protected by law. But poachers usually aren't the most law-abiding citizens. And also, we can't like really call them the bad guys because they're just doing this to sustain their family. But the actual kingpins of the trade, like the mafias, are the ones who don't mind doing illegal stuff, and they get the poachers at the ground level involved.
I'm so glad you phrased it that way, because when I was growing up, I always thought poachers, pure evil. And in most cases, these are people that are really, really impoverished. That the option is their family starves or they hunt some animals in the woods. And so if you were in that situation,
Nobody wants to grow up and become a poacher, right? That's not like a dream job. So it's because they need to survive, and they often get paid the least. Like they in the whole chain, they receive peanuts, but the people actually making the money are sitting in some tall building and running the whole thing. These are like the mafias.
On a positive note, what a lot of conservation organizations have started to do is recognize that poachers often know forests better than almost anyone because they have to seek out these rare species. And so if you pay poachers basically to not poach, to become rangers or guardians, this has been effective as a conservation tool all over the world. And so slowly the mindset has shifted where this is becoming a bit of a positive from something that was usually universally negative. So I love this question. Altona, back to Manitoba. Come on in, guys. Hey.
Hi. Our aspiring filmmakers want to know what kind of equipment you use now.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh, lovely. So again, now this will depend on the kind of shoot. So if it's like a big planet Earth kind of a shoot, then I would use a big camera called the Red. For my personal equipment, I have a small mirrorless camera that can actually shoot really well in the dark and very low light. It's called the Sony Alpha 7S3, and I often need really big lenses to be able to shoot really far away so that we're not crossing boundaries. Yeah, that's a good one. So it's the short one is A7S3, so this is good enough. And you need like really long lenses, so I shoot with like a 400-600 mm lens, so that you don't have to encroach an animal's space. You can still be far enough and get those beautiful close-ups as well.
Well, the picture we chose as the sort of backdrop for this presentation is you with a lens that's about, I don't even know, I have to get out of the frame. It's like this big, right?
Let me say that I don't need to work out as much because all I need to do is just lift my lenses.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Awesome. Great question, guys. All right, Mount Prospect, Illinois. Come on back in, Miss Davidoff's class. Unmute, and you're good to go. Yes, I know. We're on camera. Hi, guys.
Hello. Hi. What is your favorite place that you ever visited?
Ooh, tough question.
That's beautiful. So there is a place in India called Arunachal Pradesh. So it has the most amazing people, the most amazing food, and they have red pandas as well. And these forests are so pristine. I loved going there. I actually also really like the city I'm currently in. I'm in Vancouver, and there's an ocean behind. There are old growth forests. There are mountains everywhere. So I love, like, I don't have to choose between forests or mountains or oceans. I have it all here. So this is actually a pretty good place to be in as well. And I have started exploring like the urban wildlife around me. And that's great, actually.
That is great. I'm so glad you mentioned Vancouver. It really is a gem of a city, but you also noted the food. This is something that so few people, I actually encourage all our students, if you travel anywhere in the world, try the unique foods that are in those places. I used to be the world's pickiest eater, and it was going to places where, hey, this is the option for you. You don't get to choose white rice or white pasta. have something different that really opened up my horizons. And so I'm so glad you highlighted that. That's fantastic. All right, 3 more questions, folks. We're whipping through these. Mr. Johnson's class, 4 more. Miss Merrifield is after this, but Mr. Johnson, come on in, St. Teresa. Hi, guys.
Ooh, a starling just came up to my balcony. Anyway,
Ooh, that's exciting.
Oh, it's beautiful. Sorry, give me a second.
Oh, darling, there's wildlife to be captured right now.
No, it's a woodpecker. Oh my
Ooh,
god.
send us the picture after.
No, this is like still not good film. Okay, sorry. I got distracted.
What education do you need?
What education do you need to do this?
So, again, I feel like I'm not giving straight answers to anything, but again, there is no one way to go about it. I did an undergrad after my 12th grade, so that'll be after high school. I did an undergraduate degree in mass communication. So they basically taught me how to make films, but that was not related to wildlife. Back in India, there weren't many courses when I was doing my undergraduate degree. And then for my postgraduate degree, I did a master's in wildlife filmmaking. So this was very specialized. This was with partnership with BBC Natural History Unit, and all these amazing producers I grew up watching on planet Earth were actually coming to us and teaching us what to do. I saw David Attenborough there, so yeah, that was a dream come true. But I know some fantastic filmmakers who have not gone this route and who learned on the job. So the more you practice, if you know an animal really well, you respect the boundaries, you know the behavior really well, then camera and filmmaking is something you can learn. All you need is to be a good storyteller. If you're a good storyteller, then you can change minds and hearts with your stories.
Fantastic. What a cool course, though. I must say, I would have given my left arm to go to that course with you. That's very exciting. North Yarmouth, Maine, Ms. Merrifield, our third final question. Come on in, guy. Oh, there you go. You're good to go.
My name is Pranav, and what's the biggest and the smallest animal you've filmed?
Ooh,
Wow, Pranav. Okay, so I think the smallest would be a praying mantis. Do you know what a praying mantis is? These are like really cool predators that are this tiny. They're insects, and they are some of the coolest hunters. So we actually shot them in a set. Like we shot how they hunt, and it was really cool and brutal. And the largest would be the elephant. So Asian elephant till now. I haven't seen an African elephant yet, but yeah.
Ooh, very cool. By the way, praying mantises are amazing. We have them introduced here where I grew up in Ontario, and I think they're across North America. They're really special. They're one of my favorite things I've ever picked up on my hand in my life. All right, Miss Penfold's class, to wrap us up, one final question. Come on in orange, you guys, and take us away.
Our class is wondering if there's an animal that you'd really like to film that you haven't got to yet.
Ooh.
Polar bears. Oh my God, polar bears. I've been waiting to film polar bears like my entire life. Polar bears and birds of paradise. So even though I grew up obsessed with this book about birds of paradise, I actually haven't seen them in the wild. So these are my top 2 bucket list animals.
Very, very cool. Well, I can tell you Birds of Paradise were something that I grew up with. I think probably the exact same book as you growing up, and they're magical. Everybody should look up Birds of Paradise. There's 2 scientists and filmmakers that sort of have the iconic shots of them. Everyone should see them. They're unlike any other kind of bird on this planet. Very, very special creatures. I mean, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for all of this. I want to bring up all these banners that you've highlighted again. If people want to find you on social media, you're at Gun Jungle Book, which is a fantastic name for that. Red Panda Network is the amazing organization behind all the work that they do if you want to be a panda fundraiser or more. And of course, they also have that fundraiser that you talked about. So if people want to contribute to saving pandas in the wild, an amazing way to do so. And the Firefox Guardian film. I'll make sure that all our classes have this at the end of the broadcast. You also mentioned the Seek app, which is amazing, okay? For kids that have never experienced Seek or iNaturalist, they're incredible tools for understanding and learning about local wildlife.
It's like Pokemon Go for wildlife.
Yeah, this is how I tell teachers about it. We use it for our backyard bio campaign every May, so all our teachers will either know about this or already know about this, but Seek is a great tool. I hope everyone takes the chance to download that when they're done. And what we do to end every broadcast. Gunjan, I'm going to bring in all our classes to say a big thank you and farewell. And so Miss Foster's group, Miss Nicholson, Mr. Johnson, Miss Merrifield, Miss Penfold. Have a wonderful day.